Heartwarming twist. Single dad discovers incredible love at first sight with a hidden college gem. Jake stood at the auto repair shop, his hands greasy and worn from long hours of work. Yet today, his chest felt a little lighter. Lucy, his spirited daughter, had just received her acceptance letter to a prestigious local school. The joy in her eyes reminded him of her late mother. But as he placed the letter on the counter, pride tangled with worry. How would he ever pay for her tuition? The weight of the American dream pressed heavily on his shoulders. It was a crisp Saturday afternoon when the community held a vibrant fundraiser to support local small businesses. Laughter filled the air, a mix of camaraderie and warmth surrounding him. Jake watched Lucy engage with her friends but felt more alone than ever. Suddenly, amid the joyful chaos, a spark ignited his heart. He turned and locked eyes with Emma, a passionate college student volunteering at the event. Her smile could light up the gloomiest day, and Jake felt an electricity he hadn't known in years. "Hey there!" Emma waved, her voice dancing on the air. They began chatting, laughing at silly stories shared over the enticing aroma of food trucks. With each exchange, Jake's heart raced faster than he could breathe. Here was someone who saw not just a mechanic, but a man trying his best. Yet in the back of his mind lingered a nagging doubt. He could feel the judgmental glances of others. What could a bright college girl see in me? He thought, wrestling with the inadequacies he felt from their contrasting worlds. During their conversations, he felt torn between the thrill of their connection and the fear of community judgment. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they shared jokes and dreams, a budding romance formed like a well-oiled engine. But whispers from community members sliced through the vibrant atmosphere like a jagged wrench, reminding Jake that their bond was fragile. Just as hope flickered in his chest, local economic troubles rippled through the neighborhood, testing his very sense of identity. In the throes of adversity, Jake stepped up. He rallied friends and neighbors, striving to save small businesses. But even then, judgmental comments echoed around him. "He's just a mechanic," they whispered, and he felt their disdain weigh him down. Was he destined to be just that in their eyes? Amid the escalating tension, Lucy penned a heartfelt letter. Her words voiced admiration for her father's strength and Emma's compassion. It reminded everyone that love pure and unfiltered could be a force stronger than societal expectations. As Jake faced the storm of misunderstandings and prejudice, a pivotal choice loomed for the community. Would they see past their biases and accept this love? Just when Jake thought all was lost and felt the familiar pull of despair, he found himself caught between the blind hope he held and the weight of standing up for love. Would he have the courage to break free from the judgments that bound him, or would he succumb to the pressures that sought to define him? The evening air was thick with tension as Jake paced outside the small auto repair shop that had been his lifeblood for years. Lucy had gone home with a friend, filling her afternoon with laughter, but Jake couldn't shake the knot in his stomach. The whispers from the fundraiser still echoed in his mind, a sharp reminder of how others saw him just a mechanic. But he was more than that. He was her dad. He was trying to be everything for Lucy after losing her mother. Suddenly, Jake's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of a soft voice behind him. "Jake?" It was Emma, her hair catching the waning sunlight like a soft halo. She looked both radiant and concerned. "Hey, Emma. What are you doing here?" He tried to sound casual, but he could feel his heart racing again. "I wanted to check on you," she replied, stepping closer. "I was hoping you could use a friend. Things got a bit heated at the fundraiser, didn't they?" He nodded, grappling with the swirling emotions. "Yeah, I guess." It's hard. The words hung heavy on his tongue. Would she understand the weight he carried? Emma stepped closer, her eyes searching his. "No one can see the hard work you put in every day, Jake. They don't know the sacrifices you make for Lucy. But I see it. I admire it. Her words wrapped around him like a warm blanket, soothing the sting of judgment he felt just moments ago. Still, doubt crept in. You're doing great things, pursuing your dreams. I don't want to hold you back from your world. You deserve better. Better? Better than what? Emma folded her arms, challenging him in a way that made him feel both defended and vulnerable. The world we create for ourselves is what matters, not how others define us. I want to be around people who are real, Jake. For a moment, they stood in silence, the weight of their worlds pressing down on them both. The evening grew darker, and streetlights flickered on, illuminating the cracks in the pavement below. I'm scared, Jake finally confessed. I don't want to be a source of shame for you. I can't bear the thought of my past defining us. A tenderness flickered across Emma's face. You think love is about the perfect circumstances? It's not. It's about connection and honesty, about being there for each other when it gets tough. Just then, Lucy appeared at the end of the street, her laughter vibrating in the evening air as she approached with her friend. Jake felt a rush of pride as he turned to Emma. That's my girl, he said, his voice a soft growl. Lucy stopped in front of them, meeting Emma with a bright smile. Mom said I could pick any dessert for dinner since I got accepted into school. Can I? Jake smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. His mind was still trapped in the conversation with Emma. Could he really allow himself to embrace this new connection? To risk everything? Emma knelt down to Lucy's level. That sounds like the best news. What are you thinking of choosing? I want cake, Lucy exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Jake's heart swelled with pride as he watched the two connect, but layers of self-doubt loomed over him. Could he let this relationship blossom without letting his past weigh it down? A flicker of hope ignited inside him, battling against the shadows of judgment. As Lucy dragged them toward the nearby bakery, he turned to Emma. Can we? Yes, she interrupted gently. Let us take it one step at a time. Jake nodded. This moment felt right. But would the community ever see it that way? As they walked together, laughter ringing through the air, he could feel the fraying edges of his concerns begin to mend, even if only slightly. Yet as their feet moved toward the glow of the bakery, the unsettling whisper still hovered in Jake's mind, and he realized the true battle was just beginning. How would he fight for the love he wanted that felt so precarious? And when the next challenge came, would he find the strength to stand against the storm? The bakery gleamed with warmth, the sweet aroma of fresh pastries wrapping around them like a cozy embrace. Jake felt a flutter of anticipation as Lucy bounced ahead, her laughter ringing like music. Emma walked beside him, her presence filling the space with an easy comfort. Do you see anything you like? Emma asked, her voice laced with excitement as they stepped inside. The glass display was a rainbow of sugary delights, each one glistening like a jewel. Everything! Lucy shouted, her eyes wide as she marveled at the choices. Can we get one of everything? Jake chuckled, the earlier tension escaping him like a balloon released into the sky. Let us stick to one cake, buddy. Fine, just one slice of chocolate cake then. Lucy relented dramatically, her face scrunching up in mock annoyance. Jake glanced at Emma and grinned. She's a tough negotiator. Emma laughed softly, and the sound sent a warm rush through him. It was moments like this that made the weight he carried feel a little lighter. The world outside faded away as they joked and admired the treats. After they settled on a decadent slice of cake, they found a small table by the window. Jake watched the city lights begin to twinkle outside, feeling a renewed sense of hope. He turned to see Lucy diving into her cake, chocolate smeared on her cheeks. Dad, this is the best! She exclaimed, her voice dripping with joy. The sight tugged at Jake's heart, and he realized how important it was for her to feel happy and secure, especially after everything they had been through. He caught Emma's gaze, and something passed between them, an understanding that perhaps they were both in need of this moment. Lucy, Jake started, his voice a touch serious. I know life hasn't been easy since you know. But I want you to know that I'm here for you, always. Lucy's smile waned slightly, her innocence momentarily giving way to the weight of his words. "I know, Daddy," she said softly, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. "You do your best." Emma's heart swelled at the scene unfolding. It was a budding family, something Jake had feared he could never have again. She admired his commitment, the way he fought through his struggles to create joy for Lucy. He was a good man, and every moment spent with them felt like something special. "Hey," Emma said, her tone shifting to lighter territory. "Speaking of best, how about we get some ice cream next?" "Now you're talking!" Lucy shouted, her face lighting up like a firework. As they left the bakery, Jake felt a renewed courage. Emma was right. Love was about connection. Here he stood, his fears melting away like snow in the sun. Lucy was happy, and he was beginning to feel like he might deserve happiness too. But just as they stepped outside, the familiar voice of Tom, the town's loudest critic, called out from across the road. "Look who's slumming it with the mechanic!" Jake's heart sank. The laughter and sweet moments he had just shared became overshadowed by the sneers that often followed Tom's taunts. He clenched his fists, ready to respond, but Emma placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Don't let him get to you," she urged quietly, her voice steadying him. "You are more than what they say." It was easier said than done. As they walked past Tom, Jake kept his head high, trying to ignore the weight of judgment hanging in the air. But the seeds of doubt began to sprout, filling his mind with insecurities once again. Could he truly protect this new happiness from the world's scrutiny? As they walked into the ice cream parlor, laughter and joy surrounding them, Jake couldn't shake off the growing urgency in his heart. This wasn't just about him anymore. He had to fight for Lucy and Emma too. What would happen when he had to confront Tom or others like him? Would he summon the courage to stand fierce, or would fear swallow him whole? The storm was brewing, and Jake realized he had to decide how to face it for the sake of his family. As they settled into a small booth at the ice cream parlor, Lucy giddily chose her favorite flavor, rainbow sprinkles with a hefty scoop of chocolate chip. Jake ordered a simple vanilla cone for himself, while Emma opted for lemon sorbet, a perfect contrast to the laughter swirling around them. "Look at this," Lucy said, holding up her cone like a trophy. "It's like a rainbow exploded." Jake couldn't stop smiling at her enthusiasm. It reminded him of how simple joys held such power. He took a bite of his vanilla, the cold sweetness comforting against the backdrop of anxiety that still lingered from Tom's taunt. "Hey, do you think they have any ice cream that tastes like a chocolate cake?" Lucy pondered, her brow furrowed with a serious expression that was utterly adorable. "Why not? Maybe in some far-off land, there's chocolate cake ice cream," Emma remarked, playfully looking around the parlor, as if expecting a cake-flavored delight to pop up. Lucy giggled, the sound infectious. In that moment, the shadows of their worries faded as laughter filled the air. Still, in the corners of Jake's mind, Tom's words echoed relentlessly. They twisted his stomach with anxiety, pulling him back to dark places he had fought hard to escape. It was supposed to be a joyful outing, a time to build memories. But the thought of standing up to Tom loomed large, a storm cloud that seemed harder to shake with every passing moment. "Jake?" Emma's voice cut through his thoughts, soft and gentle. "Are you okay?" He forced a smile, but the edges wavered. "Yeah, just thinking." She rested her hand on his, warm and reassuring. "About what?" His heart raced. Should he share his fears, or keep them buried? She had already seen so much of his struggles. The weight of the world had been heavy for too long, and there was something about Emma's presence that made him want to be lighter. "About what Tom said back there?" He hesitated. "I just don't want you and Lucy to feel what I felt." The judgment. The stares. Emma's gaze was steady, unwavering. "You're not defined by what he says. You're creating a new life, one filled with happiness and love. That matters more." For the first time in a while, Jake felt a flicker of hope stir within him. She was right. Life wasn't just about the battles fought in the shadows but the moments of laughter shared in the light. "How do you do that?" he asked, genuinely curious. "How do you just see the bright side?" Emma chuckled softly, her eyes sparkling. I think it's like ice cream. Sometimes it's a mix of different flavors. You have to savor the sweet moments amidst the bitter ones. Across the table, Lucy took a big bite of her colorful cone, her face lighting up in delight. Jake wanted to bottle that magic, freeze it in time because it felt precious, fragile like a bubble that could pop at any moment. Can we choose ice cream together every week? Lucy asked, her voice hopeful. He chuckled softly, ruffling her hair. Absolutely. This can be our special tradition. Just then, a new figure walked into the parlor. A familiar one. The icy grip of fear returned as Jake realized it was Tom again, accompanied by a few other townsfolk. They leaned on the counter, their laughter booming against the cheerful chatter of families. Jake's chest tightened. He didn't want to spoil the day for Lucy, but the confrontation felt inevitable. He could feel Emma's eyes on him, sensing the shift in his demeanor. Breathe, she whispered, and he appreciated her presence like an anchor holding him steady. The moment stretched, fragile as the evening light, and Jake had to choose: would he stand up this time? The stakes felt higher with Emma and Lucy by his side. What do you think will happen? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. But before Emma could answer, Tom's voice broke through the laughter once more. I see the mechanic missed the ball on this one, huh? The moment hung heavy in the air like a thundercloud, and Jake felt his heart pounding. He couldn't allow this to tear apart the joy they had curiously crafted together. What would he do next? Would he rise above the taunts or let fear take control? The decision felt critical, a fork in the road that could forever alter this fragile happiness. Jake took a deep breath, bracing himself for what lay ahead. Jake's pulse quickened as he faced Tom, the laughter from the parlor muffled around him like an echo in a cave. The weight of the words hung heavily in the air, taunting him. He glanced at Lucy, blissfully engrossed in her ice cream, and at Emma, whose presence radiated calm. Jake, Emma said softly, her hand still resting on his. You don't have to fight this battle alone. Her words resonated deep within him. Maybe it was time to break the cycle. He opened his mouth to respond to Tom, but the words danced chaotically in his mind. Instead, he took another bite of his vanilla, grounding himself in its simplicity. Hey! Why don't you join us for ice cream? He finally said, feigning a lightness he didn't feel. It was an unexpected tactic. Tom glanced at his friends, laughter fading slightly but still lingering. Join you? Tom repeated, eyebrows raised in mock disbelief. Why would I want to be part of your little circus? Jake's heart sank a little. Tom's ridicule felt sharper now, but he stood his ground. Because ice cream makes everyone happy, Jake replied, forcing a smile. Besides, there's enough for everyone here, even you. Lucy giggled, blissfully unaware of the tension. I think everyone should join us. Her enthusiasm pierced through the heaviness in the air, her innocent charm offering a respite from the looming confrontation. Tom faltered, taken aback by Lucy's sweetness. For a moment, the bravado faltered. Jake held on to that flicker. Maybe Tom was more human than Jake chose to believe. Maybe even he had the capability to laugh, to feel joy. Whatever, Tom muttered, shoving his hands into his pockets. He turned away, but Jake could see the wheels turning in his mind. Behind him, Tom's friend shrugged, not ready to leave yet, caught between loyalty and discomfort. Emma squeezed Jake's hand reassuringly, and it felt like the air shifted subtly, as if the weight of judgment had lifted just a notch. That was brave, she whispered, her eyes brightening with admiration. The moment was fragile still, but Jake felt a sliver of hope. Maybe he could reshape how others viewed him, or at least how he viewed himself. Lucy took another big spoonful of her colorful cone, her eyes wide with delight. Can we go to the park next? Lucy chirped, eyes brimming with excitement. I want to swing really high. Emma nodded, her smile vibrant. Absolutely. What do you think, Jake? Forcing a grin, he replied, sounds perfect. But we'll need to burn off some of this sugar first. The laughter bubbled again, and for now, they felt like a little family invincible, despite the earlier storm. But as they gathered their things and prepared to leave, Jake stole a glance at Tom. The other boy had turned back toward them, his face uncertain. It was an expression Jake had seen in the mirror too many times, a struggle to fit in, to find approval. Before Jake could consider, he made eye contact with Tom, and an unexpected spark flickered between them. In that brief moment, Jake felt the heaviness of animosity begin to lighter. Everyone, including Tom, had the right to happiness. "Hey, Tom!" Jake called, surprising himself. "We're going to the park. If you want, you could come too. It's a good time." The laughter from their booth hushed again, a collective breath held in anticipation. Tom's expression changed from confusion to something deeper, almost reflective. "Why would I want to hang out with you losers?" Tom replied, his voice defensive but lacking its usual bite. "Because it's fun. And fun doesn't judge," Jake answered. The tension rippled through the parlor, as everyone awaited Tom's response. Would he accept the offer, and would it change everything? Whatever happened next, Jake knew he had crossed the threshold. He couldn't unsee the possibilities of connection. Would Tom rise to the challenge, or would the divide remain? The air was charged with anticipation, and Jake took a slow, deep breath, intrigued by what this moment might awaken in all of them. Tom's gaze flickered, uncertainty clouding his features. As the moments ticked by, the silence in the parlor felt like it could compress air itself. Jake's heart raced, hope and fear intertwining like a tangled vine. What if this was the moment that changed everything, or what if it was just another chance for rejection? "Come on, Tom. It'll be fun," Lucy chimed in, her little voice cutting through the tension like a warm knife through butter. She had no idea the stakes were high, but somehow her innocent belief in fun seemed to ease the atmosphere surrounding them. Tom hesitated, his fierce facade cracking just slightly. For the first time, Jake saw a glimpse of vulnerability beneath his bravado. "I don't need your pity party," he scoffed, but the way he shifted his weight suggested he was debating between pride and a desire to belong. "Maybe it's not pity," Emma suggested gently, her voice softening the edges of Tom's resistance. "Maybe it's a chance to just be, normal? Just kids hanging out." Tom's shoulders tensed, but he stared at Emma with something approaching curiosity. "Normal, huh?" His tone dripped with sarcasm, but there was a flicker of interest behind his eyes. "Yes. Normal," Lucy beamed, bouncing on her feet. "Like swinging high, and feeling like you can fly. You should try it." Jake could practically see the gears turning in Tom's mind. The conflict was evident. He wanted to be part of something, but years of being the tough guy made it difficult to let anyone in. This was the moment, Jake realized. If they could pull Tom into their world, they might just break down his walls. "Just this once," Jake said, desperation creeping into his voice. "You can even have my extra vanilla. Real scoop, not just toppings." Uncertainty mixed with determination. Jake wasn't sure how to bridge the gap, but he was tired of standing on the other side. Tom's defenses faltered further. "Fine, I'll come," he muttered, though he lacked the confidence to sound enthusiastic. The words came out both a concession and a challenge. "Yay!" Lucy shouted, her excitement infectious. As they exited the parlor, Jake couldn't help but cast a cautious glance at Emma. She smiled, encouragement lighting her eyes. They walked in a loose formation, Lucy's tiny frame darting ahead with joy, her laughter ringing like chimes. Tom hung back, shoving his hands deep in his pockets. But with each step, Jake noticed something changing in him. The tight lines on Tom's face began to soften. Maybe, just maybe, today could lead to something different. Arriving at the park, the swings loomed like beckoning arms. Jake felt a flutter of nerves, thinking about how tenuous this new dynamic felt. He looked at Lucy, who instantly dashed to the swings, squealing with glee. Emma followed suit, pushing her gently as if life's burdens had washed away for just a moment. "Can you swing with me?" Lucy called, looking up at Tom as she jumped off the swing to run to him. Tom hesitated again, glancing at the swings before looking at Jake. This was the turning point. Jake couldn't let Tom back down now. "Hey, if you give it a shot, I promise you might actually enjoy it," Jake encouraged, his voice steady, though his heart raced. He was not going to miss this opportunity. Tom sidestepped, still unsure. I don't know what if I fall. Then you get right back up. Aren't you tired of being tough all the time? Jake replied, the words pouring out before he could second-guess themselves. Tom's face hardened for a moment, but then he let out a reluctant laugh. It wasn't full-blown joy, but it was something. The front he used to shield himself was crumbling, and Jake felt a spark of triumph. With a deep breath, Tom stepped up to the swing. Laughter bubbled among the group as Lucy pushed him gently, a smile breaking through Tom's guarded demeanor. It was small, but it was real. It was a start. In that instant, Jake realized they were all taking a leap together, searching for connection in the oddest of ways. Maybe today wasn't just about fun. It could be about courage too. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden rays over the park, Jake felt his chest tighten. If this could happen, what other changes were waiting just ahead? What other hidden gems lay buried beneath the surface of their everyday lives? Then, just as he thought the moment couldn't get any better, a voice broke through the laughter. Nice swing, Tom. It was one of Tom's friends from earlier. Jake's heart sank. Would this mark the beginning of old habits resurfacing, or would it fortify their new bond? Jake turned to look at Tom, whose face was set in a neutral expression. Whatever happened next could reshape everything. Would Tom hold on to the opportunity, or would the chance slip through their fingers like grains of sand? Today was just the tip of the iceberg. Tom turned slowly at the sound of his name, his body going rigid as he recognized the voice. It belonged to Mike, one of the guys from his old crowd. Jake felt a knot form in his stomach as he watched Tom's face shift through a range of emotions: surprise, confusion, and just a hint of apprehension. Tommy! Didn't he think we'd see you here? Mike called out, swaggering over, his friends in tow. There was a confidence in the group that seemed to pour hot and heavy in the air, threatening to smother their fragile bubble of joy. Yeah, I just came to hang out, Tom replied, trying to sound casual but failing. Jake noticed Tom's grip tightening on the swing chains, his knuckles going pale. Lucy, blissfully unaware of the tension, yelled, "Swing with me, Tom!" She reached out, her tiny fingers already wrapped around his. Don't be a baby, Tommy. You always were too scared to really have fun. Mike smirked, leaning back against the fence that bordered the swing set, his tone playful but edged with something sharper. Tom opened his mouth, words caught like fish in a net. The laughter of Lucy and Emma starkly contrasted with the ridicule hanging in the air, and Jake felt an intense urge to intervene. Hey, Mike, he said, stepping forward with a quick flash of defiance. Why don't you just let him be? Mike eyed Jake with a daring glance. Oh, is the little guy your new project now? He chuckled, but Jake could see the confusion and annoyance flickering behind Mike's confidence. You really think you can change him? Maybe I just want him to have a good time, Jake shot back, his heart pounding. Tom stood squarely between them, confusion swirling in his eyes. He was battling the perception of who he used to be against who he could be if he chose to embrace these new connections. Why do you care so much what he thinks? Jake added, directing his words towards Tom now. You don't have to impress anyone anymore. Tom's steady gaze met Jake's, and for a moment, everything else faded into the background. In that instant, it became clear that the choice was his. Would he sink back into the easy comfort of old habits, or would he brave the unknown that hung before him? Who said I wanted to impress anybody? Tom mumbled, pulling his hands away from the chains. Lucy whooped joyfully, swinging higher as if she could sense the shifting tide. Emma smiled encouragingly, but the threat of Mike's laughter loomed overhead. Yeah, it takes guts to do something different, Jake said softly, his voice laced with a hint of urgency. You can't let them define who you are, man. Only you can do that. Don't forget it. Tom's brow furrowed, his expression a tangled web of thoughts. He looked back at Mike, who stood there snickering with his friends. The laughter rang hollow now, the weight of expectations clashing against the buoyancy of possibility. Look, I'm done with all this, Tom said finally, surprising everyone, including himself. I did want to try. It's just I thought it was too late. It's never too late, Jake said, his heart racing, feeling like they were on the brink of something significant. Just be yourself. There's more to you than this. The seeds of change were sown as Tom took a deep breath, glancing at Jake before staring back at the swing, his opportunity. For a heartbeat, hope flickered in Jake's chest. All right, Tom said, almost stretching the word. Let us swing. Tom stepped closer to the swing again, refusing to let Mike's mocking steal his moment. He squared his shoulders and shuffled toward Lucy, who looked hopeful. She beamed at him, her trust a reminder of what childhood joys were really about. Tom climbed onto the swing, shaking off the weight of expectations. And as Lucy began to push him, laughter infused the air once more, echoing the innocence of their play. But as they swung higher, Jake caught Mike's disbelieving stare. How would this unfold? Everyone was watching now. The laughter, once filled with joy, had turned to hushed tones and barely concealed curiosity. Would Tom seize this shift, or would he retreat back into the shadows? The line was drawn. Jake felt a rush of anticipation mixed with dread. The moment hung, vibrating with potential. What would happen when Tom realized he didn't have to carry the weight of who he used to be? The swing creaked and soared, embodying the precarious nature of choices staring Tom in the face. The swing flew higher, catching the soft glow of the sun. Tom felt the air brush against his cheeks, the laughter of Lucy ringing in his ears like music. He was soaring, breaking free from the weight of judgment, a part of him long buried now cracking open, letting light in. As he swung, an echo of joy surged through him, mingling with a thread of nervousness that danced in his belly. Each push reminded him of the power of daring, of unexpected choice. Maybe he could be someone new, maybe who Mike thought he was didn't have to matter anymore. That's it, Tom. You're flying. Lucy cheered, her bright eyes sparkling with encouragement. Her enthusiasm cut through the heavy atmosphere. It pulled him deeper into the moment. But Mike hadn't left it behind. He leaned in closer to Jake, an eyebrow cocked, a mocking grin still plastered on his face. Look at him. Can you believe this? Mr. Swing-a-Lot. The goading tones made Tom's heart race. Just when he felt free, Mike's laughter sliced through, sharp and familiar. A part of him felt that old urge to curl back into a shell, but just then, locked in Lucy's laughter and Jake's gaze, he found footing amidst the chaos. Yeah, I'm having fun, Tom shouted back, his voice stronger than he anticipated. It rang with a triumphant edge that surprised them all, even Mike. And who says you can't be an adult and have fun? The air shifted, pulling Tom out of the shadow Mike cast. Those simple words carried weight, anchoring him deeper in his new decision. He was done hiding. Just look at him, Mike spat, turning back to his friends in feigned amusement, though his smirk faltered. Guess he forgot how to be cool. Yet the real laughter, it was coming from Lucy, and it was infectious. Her joy was a direct line to happiness, and for the first time in so long, Tom wanted to embrace that feeling freely, without apologies. With each push, he began to let go of the notion that his worth was tied to the past, and perhaps, to Mike's opinion. The swing rattled but remained steady underfoot, and as it reached its peak, Tom felt a surge of hope. The tug of expectation from Mike faded into a background hum. Don't mind him, Tommy. Lucy giggled, urging him higher with her little hands. You can be anything. Just keep swinging. He glanced back at her, and in that moment, her belief became infectious. He wasn't just swinging, he was breaking chains. Chains Mike had put there long ago. Jake watched with a smile, feeling pride swell in his chest. They were small movements, yes, but they were significant, like cracks in a dam that slowly let the water surge forth. Then suddenly, Tom experienced an unexpected wave of clarity. He realized it wasn't just about this single moment, or an old rival's taunts. It was about his journey forward, how every little step could lead to the life he dreamed of, where he wasn't defined by old labels. Cheers of exhilaration bubbled up as he caught the eye of a girl nearby who smiled knowingly, perhaps sharing a glimpse of what was unfolding, but in the back of his mind, there still lingered that familiar tension. The shadows of doubt hadn't completely vanished. Mike and his crew had always been there, a reminder of how easily joy could turn sour in the wrong company. As Tom resumed swinging, now caught between exhilaration and uncertainty, he heard Jake call out, "You're doing it, Tom. This is just the beginning." How true that felt. But the question loomed, could he cultivate this feeling beyond the swing set? Would he hold on to it when faced with the reality waiting off the playground? And with one last push, Tom soared as high as he could, reaching toward the endless sky. Each swing was a promise, a step toward what could be. With each gust of wind, freedom called, inviting him to join in the next chapter of his life. But somewhere in the back of his mind, he couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was only the beginning. What awaited him outside this bubble of happiness? What would he find when the thrill of swinging faded? As Tom came to a halt, the swing creaked lightly, easing him back to the ground. The warm sun bathed him in golden light, but the sweetness of the moment began to slip from his grasp. His heart still raced from the excitement, the exhilaration, but Mike's taunts echoed in the back of his mind. "Tom!" Lucy chimed, her presence bright as she hopped off the swing beside him. "Did you see how high you went? You were amazing! Like a superhero." Her words wrapped around him like a warm blanket. "Yeah, I guess I was," he managed to say, a smile tugging at his lips as he looked into her sincere eyes. There was something buoyant in her spirit, something he wanted to hold on to. But as the laughter faded, reality kicked in. Tom caught sight of Mike hovering nearby, arms crossed, still wearing that smirk. Conversation stirred among the group, snickering glances darting in Tom's direction. It was enough to prick the buoyancy he felt. "Let us get out of here," Jake said, glancing between Tom and the other boys, his expression hardening. "I don't want to hang out with idiots." "Where to?" Tom asked, hesitant but curious. "Let us head to the library." "They're south this place by campus with the best snacks," Jake suggested, his enthusiasm palpable. Tom nodded, eager to leave the remnants of the playground behind. The three of them wound their way through the winding path, the sounds of summer enveloping them. The further they walked, the more the doubts receded. With every step, Tom recognized there was a different rhythm to this moment, a way to forge a new path, one where he didn't have to answer to Mike or anyone else. The library loomed ahead, large and inviting. It was cool inside, a shield from the pulsating summer heat. As they wandered deeper into the stacks of books, a rustle caught his attention. He turned just in time to see a girl, absorbed in flipping through a stack of novels, her long hair cascading down as she mumbled to herself. "Excuse me," Jake called, excited. "Did you find something good?" The girl's head shot up. Her green eyes sparkled as she met Jake's gaze before shifting to Tom. A spark ignited, leaving him momentarily breathless. "Yeah!" she exclaimed, holding up a book with vibrant colors on the cover. "It's a fantasy novel, and I can't put it down." Tom's heart fluttered. There was something genuine about her, a vibrancy he hadn't expected to find in this quiet space. "What's it about?" he asked, trying to bridge the gap between them. She smiled, enthusiasm pouring out as she spoke. "It's this wild adventure. The characters are so real, and the world just sucks you in." Tom caught himself nodding, intrigued as she animatedly shared her thoughts. "Tom loves books," Lucy blurted out, bouncing on the balls of her feet. "You guys should just talk about books." The girl's eyes widened, enthusiasm morphing into something deeper as she looked directly at Tom. "Really? What's your favorite?" A conversation began to flow. Tom felt himself relaxing as they discussed titles, stories sparking ideas in his mind. The world around him faded away until it was just the three of them, the books forming a cocoon of connection. But then he noticed Mike lurking outside the library, whispering to his friends, glancing in with judgment painted across his face. The earlier thrill of liberation began to waver under the weight of Mike's disdain. "Well, this is cute," Mike called, not bothering to hide the sarcasm. "Book nerds in a library. Real original." Tom felt the sting of embarrassment, but this time, it was different. "At least we're not afraid to be ourselves," he shot back, surprising even himself. The girl's expression shifted, her gaze steady on Tom as if urging him to keep going. "Yeah. Books are awesome, it's okay to be passionate. Tom turned back to her with a spark of confidence. Exactly. We all have our strengths and interests. And if that means being ourselves, then I'm all for it. As Mike's laughter died away, Tom stood taller. Maybe he had a place here, finally starting to understand what it meant to be a part of something better. Do you come here often? He asked. His voice light as hope swelled inside him. Well, I do now, she grinned. In that moment, Tom realized he was not just swinging through life anymore, he was grounded. He was ready for something real, something genuine. But just as the connection between them deepened, a sudden wave of doubt crashed over him. What would it mean to step forward into this new world? As their conversation unfolded, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that he was teetering at the edge of something monumental. Would he leap into this newfound connection, or hold back, weighed down by shadows of the past? While his heart raced at the thought, he wondered just how far he could go. The sun dipped low, casting a warm glow through the library windows, and for Tom, it felt like a new dawn. As he chatted with the girl Sarah, he learned her name. Her enthusiasm pulled him deeper into a world he hadn't thought possible. The ease of their conversation made the shadows lurking outside fade into the background. Do you really love reading? She asked, her eyes studying him with genuine curiosity. Definitely, he replied, gaining confidence. It's like escaping to other worlds. His words took flight as he spoke about adventures that whisked him away from the noise of Mike and the expectations of the past. Tom felt alive. It was like inhaling the fresh air after being trapped in a suffocating room for too long. But as they laughed over their favorite plot twists, a familiar voice echoed in the distance. Tom! You're still hanging out with the nerds? Mike's taunt cut through the library's serene atmosphere like a cold breeze. Tom felt the familiar knot tighten in his stomach, but he wasn't the same boy who'd simply cower away from Mike's mockery. They were standing in a world built on joy and friendship, a stark contrast to the judgment that loomed behind them. With a determined breath, he turned to face Mike. Yeah, Mike. I am. And it feels pretty great. The words surprised even Tom himself. He stood taller, realizing the laughter and connection he had found were worth defending. Sarah's eyes widened with admiration, and Lucy, always nearby, beamed with pride. Look at you! Lucy clapped her hands, causing laughter to bubble among the group. You're awesome! The innocence of her joy was like sunlight breaking through clouds. Surprised you can read, Mike shot back, but Tom remained calm this time, unbothered. Why shouldn't I? Some of us are trying to actually enjoy our lives. It's not all about being tough, Tom replied, his voice steady. There was power in claiming his story, and this time, he felt unchained. Tom could sense the surprise from the group surrounding Mike. The laughter softened into murmurs, uncertainty replacing bravado. Mike's expression wavered as the energy shifted. Tom reveled in the moment, empowered by newfound strength. Don't you want more? Tom pressed, his gaze steady. There's so much to explore outside of this small life you cling to. For a heartbeat, the confrontation hung in midair. Tom watched as Mike's defenses crumbled, and he grasped that the divide between them was becoming less defined. Whatever, Mike said finally, shrugging off the question while turning to walk away. Nerds and mechanics don't change. But his voice lacked venom, tinged with uncertainty. As Tom let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding, he turned back to Sarah, whose admiration sparkled in her smile. That was brave, she said, her excitement refreshing like the warm sun breaking over the horizon. Thanks, Tom replied, his heart still racing. It felt good to say what I wanted. Lucy bounced on her feet, her energy infectious. Can we celebrate with ice cream again? She asked, already knowing the answer. Absolutely. Jake chimed in, stepping to join them. Celebrating courage with some treats sounds perfect. Who's in? As they left the library, a sense of warmth wrapped them all like a cozy blanket. They wandered to the nearby ice cream shop, laughter following in their wake. Standing inside, surrounded by bright colors and the smell of sweet confections, Tom felt something monumental shift. He was no longer just a mechanic, or just a kid trying to fit in. He was becoming part of something real. Tom! Lucy exclaimed, pointing at the menu board. Get the cookie dough one. It's the bestest. With a grin, he ordered the cookie dough, the excitement buzzing through him as they all chose their favorite flavors. As they sat outside, enjoying their treats, Tom felt the shadows recede further. Looking around at his little family, he realized that love had a way of transforming everything. Emma and Lucy, laughter ringing out like sweet music in the air, anchored him, teaching him about family and acceptance. And in Sarah's gaze he caught a spark and understanding that went deeper, something full of promise. Tom took a moment to pause and breathe it all in. This is just the beginning, he thought, and the realization wrapped around him like a warm embrace. The evening wore on, filled with laughter, stories, and connection, but Tom knew he still had work to do. It wasn't just about leaving behind expectations. It was about claiming who he was and the connections waiting to flourish. In that moment, he felt powerful. The weight of past judgments loosened its grip, and he stepped into the light of acceptance, shining brightly with eyes open to a future that felt promising. As they left the ice cream shop, Tom turned back for a moment. The world lay behind him, but the friends beside him felt like home. He would face the challenges ahead, for love was worth every battle, every swing higher into the light of endless possibilities. This was his time. And for the first time in forever, Tom could say he embraced every bit of it. And now, you need to subscribe now. Hit that bell to not miss the next exclusive stories that'll inspire you to chase your dreams. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread positivity. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative journey. Together, let us keep the fire of connection alive,